Press live now. You're now live.
Is it me or is it all gone quiet? Oh, so I went quiet for a minute then. Tim, we've got on my screen, I've just got the Housing Supervisory Board meeting note. Can that be taken off now, or?
No, that is for the members of the public to see, so that they're orientated. We've got this slideshow to go up when you're ready for it.
Right, so are we ready to start the meeting? It's 2 o'clock on my schedule. So do we need to do a roll call, or are we?
If you could follow the notes, Mark, to orientate the public. Yeah,
okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the meeting of the Housing Supervisory Board. I am Councillor Mark Jones, Chairman of the Board. I am obliged to inform you that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Members of the public will be able to hear the audio of the meeting and view the papers shown on the screen. The meeting is being held using remote technology, and should any committee members experience technical difficulties during the meeting, they should immediately contact the designated IT officer on the number they have been already supplied with. Everyone is requested to mute their microphones unless asked to speak. Please only use the chat function to indicate the desire to speak. Do not use it for anything else, so that it is clear who is asking to speak, and the debate has to be heard by those listening to the audio feed. As chair, I will interpret the council's existing standing orders in light of the requirements of remote participation, with advice from the monitoring officer prior to making a ruling. At the start of the meeting, I will ask members of the committee to confirm their presence and any disclosures of disclosable pecuniary interest that they have had in any of the items on the agenda. I will ask everyone that speaks during the meeting, including members of the committee and officers, to introduce themselves each time before they speak, and this is so the listeners know who is speaking. So do I need to ask who is, can I have a roll call of who's at the meeting, please? I think Jamie's taken a note of who's going to be at the meeting. I see on my phone, Vince is trying to ring me. I don't know whether he's given his apologies. I'll just answer the phone. Is that all right? Hello, Vince. Nope, he's gone. So Julie, what are we doing about a roll call? Are they all putting their hands up?
Would you like me to read the names? If you could say that you're present, and if you have any declarations to make when you reply. So Mark Jones.
I have no pecuniary interests.
Thank you. Pauline D.
I'm present and I have no pecuniary interest. Just that on the minutes, I did give my apologies for all meetings in January.
Thank you. Rob Gittings.
Present and no interests.
Vince Hunt.
I've got a note from him saying, having internet issues, I can join you when I can.
Okay, thank you. Simon Jones.
Present, and I've got no pecuniary interests at all.
Heather Kidd.
Giving her apologies, Jonah.
Cecilia Motley.
Present and no pecuniary interests.
Tony Parsons.
Present and no pecuniary interests.
Keith Roberts. Thank you. The roll call is now complete.
Okay, so we've done item 2, which is the disclosable pecuniary interest at the same time. So number 3 on the minutes is to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 23rd of January 2020. Has anybody? So I would like to move that the minutes of the Housing Supervisory Board held on the 23rd of January as circulated with the agenda papers be signed as a correct record.
I'll second that.
And Simon's going to second it, so thank you. Julia's taken note of that. Do I need to take a vote on that, Julia?
If nobody has any objections, I've noted Pauline's absence. If nobody has any objections, that can go forward.
Okay. Item 4 on the agenda is public question time. Have we got any public questions, Julia?
No public questions.
That's superb. Member question time. Have we got any member? We've got no member questions have been received, so we can move on to item 6. I believe Harpreet is he on board to speak? Welcome, Harpreet, if you're about.
Right, Chair, thank you.
I can't see him on my screen.
I can see you.
I can't see his lovely smiling face.
I'm definitely I can definitely see everybody else. Can anybody else see me, or is it just Mark?
Oh, I can see you now, Harpreet. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I can see you.
Yeah. Okay. So what
would you like me to give an introduction, Chair, to Harpreet in this paper?
That who's speaking now?
Mark Barrow.
Oh, sorry, Mark. Didn't see you there in that beard.
Yes, okay.
Yes, if you could welcome Harpreet, and I think he's got a second in command as well, apparently somewhere.
Yeah, I'll let Harpreet get onto that. So,
okay, Mark,
what members have got here? You'll see it's a short paper with the detail contained in Appendix A at the back. Really pleased to report to you the progress that's been made in terms of bringing forward this first wave of developments. I think for me, things to call out here particularly are this totals 97 new units, 62 for sale, 35 of affordable. But important to call out, I think, is 12 bungalows in this mix. And you'll remember as we kind of teed up this whole process through the establishment of CORNOVII, addressing unmet need was a really important part of that rationale. So I think that kind of need and this first wave containing that provision, I think, is really important to call out. And then a mix of kind of 2, 3 and 4 bed family homes that again kind of reflect local needs. So I think it's just, I think, helpful for us to reflect on that. Great to see the dates of Frith hopefully commencing at the end of 2020, and then the other 2 sites commencing early 21. So I think very much we kind of picked up the desire of getting to delivery quickly. So I think congratulations to Harpreet and the team for getting us to this stage. So is there anything, Harpreet, then you want to call out particularly in terms of any of these 3 sites, or do you want to just quickly go through each one with any call out?
Yeah, I'm happy to just quickly go over each one if that's okay, and just to give members just a brief update of where we're up to. So members will be aware, firstly, in terms of Frith Close at Crowmore, a planning application has recently been submitted. To date, we've had some really positive feedback from the planners, and there's just a few technical issues we're working with them to resolve in terms of the planning application. Generally, they're very happy with our urban design principles and also the density and the property designs as well, and the feedback from the local community has also been very strong as well. There has been questions about when we start on site, things around traffic management and the way in which the houses will be built, and we're planning to hold further consultation events following the completion and hopeful acceptance of the planning application for that particular site. We're aiming to get to planning committee either in the summer, and hopefully that will mean that we'll have a decision by September, October time following JR. I'm wondering if members have any questions about Frith Close. take that as a
Chairman,
no, Chair. Sorry.
and ask a question. Is that okay? I did
Yes.
actually ask on chat.
I can't see that, but yeah, okay.
Is that all right?
Celia.
Harpreet, hi, it's Councillor Cecilia Motley. I think this is a very good start myself. First of all, I like the scale of development because it's not too intense, it's not too dense, and also the sites are really quite small, which I think is a very good thing. Well, there are two questions that I'd like to ask. First of all, I am hoping that that the idea is to pepper pot the market houses with the affordables and the bungalows, etc., so that you don't get a division within the whole estate. That's point one. And the second point is that I think wherever possible, we need to make sure that we are very aware of the whole climate change emergency and try and make sure that we make allowances for green corridors wherever we can. And obviously, I know that we're building to high eco standards, but I just think it's very important that we don't forget the sort of green corridors on the ground.
No, firstly, thank you for the positive feedback on the layout of the development. I can reassure you that we're working very closely with STAR and we are planning to pepper pot the affordable housing. I would also like to point out that the mix on the site doesn't make any differences. So the house types that are affordable, shared ownership and market sale are exactly the same in terms of their appearance. So again, that really helps in terms of the urban design principles. We also take on board your point around the importance of the green agenda, and for me in particular it's around the connectivity of how we can actually support local green spaces as well as the built environment as well, the buildings. One of the things that we have done is opened up the wall, which then leads to a park area, which we think will hopefully help in terms of the use of facilities within the area. And one of the things that I'd like to point out as well is that as we were developing this scheme, it was at the start of the crisis in relation to C19. One of the things that has come back in terms of the feedback is the importance of gardens, the importance of that green space, and that's what we try to incorporate within the development as it's developed. So we're very proud of where we've come to in terms of not overdeveloping the site, making sure it's sympathetic to other properties and making sure that there is good connectivity to local amenities.
Yeah, could I just come back on that? I've noticed the size of the gardens and I do applaud it. I do think that we are in the happy position if we can get this built out exactly as we want it, where we will actually be able to demonstrate to the large developers actually the sort of housing that we want to see in Shropshire, and that we're not going to accept a lower standard. So if we can start as we mean to go on, I think that's a very good thing.
Any more comments?
Okay.
Harpreet, do you want to continue?
Yes, thank you. If I could then move on to Ellesmere Wharf. So we are currently working very closely with our asset management colleagues within the council to look at bringing this particular site forward. There are some constraints that we're working through in terms of a number of surveys that we need to undertake, and hopefully that will then influence the final layout for the scheme. But again, in terms of what we're trying to achieve is make sure it is sympathetic to the local area, to make sure that we're making the best of local facilities such as the canal within that location, and again to make sure that we've got a strong mix of housing based on local housing need. We're hoping that all the survey information will be back to us by mid-July and we can finalise our layout, and at that point what we will do is begin the consultation process with the town council and also with the local community. We are hopeful that an application will be submitted in the summer. Again, I'm happy to take questions on this particular development.
Could I ask, I'm sorry I've not used the chat, but Councillor Tony Parsons, you mentioned in the review there that this is a challenging site for a number of reasons, and I think we saw that when we went out on the site visit. But have you found any other issues that have come to light since we went on the site visit to look at this particular development?
There are a number of issues. There's first the tree protection areas on the site. So what we then need to do is put in place a different foundation solution. So that's the first particular challenge. The second challenge is related to a culvert, which we believe may be running underneath the site, which may result in potentially a part of the site being undevelopable, but we need to finish our investigations first. So we are arranging for those camera surveys to be undertaken. We've also identified an easement, but we've engaged with professional consultants to get a cost and a way forward to help us resolve that particular issue. And there is also some contamination on the site as well. But what's important for me is that we've, as part of the due diligence in terms of developing the plans, we've identified these issues, and for most of them we've got a solution. I think the real challenging one for us will potentially be the culvert, but what that doesn't mean is that the site doesn't become undevelopable. It just means that part of the site potentially will become more difficult to develop, and once we've got those constraints we can update our layout accordingly.
Okay, I see Pauline's asking a question. Did you want to ask that question, Pauline?
Yeah, yes, I'm just looking at the layout and I've seen that there's a green area which runs parallel to the canal, and I'm just concerned in case get a lot of walkers going down there, in case they think it's part of a park or something, and they start setting up picnics and things on the grassed area. So I just wondered if it was be fenced off or be made so that people realise that it is not part of the amenity area, but it is just it is part of the housing estate.
Thank you, Councillor D. It's something that we've considered as well. So we will be putting a small dwarf fence at the front. That's the proposal. What this plan doesn't really, you can't visualise is the number of trees within that location as well, and that will also act as a natural barrier. That part of the site is fronted by the canal footpath, so we feel that's one of the big features of those particular homes. So we're doing a careful balancing act of making sure that people can look out and really take advantage of the canal and that surrounding area during the summer, but also having the appropriate security in place as well. And we felt that this was probably the best way to achieve that at this time. Thank you.
Okay, you carry on to the next one, are you, Harpreet?
Yeah. The final final site that we're moving forward at the moment is Overton Road at Ifton Heath. So just as an update, the planning application has now been submitted. We've completed all of our surveys. As you'll probably see, the site is, in terms of its density, it's in line with what we'd hope within a rural area, which is below 30 homes per hectare. It's a mix of 2, 3 and 4 bedroom houses with some bungalows. We've also incorporated some of the existing green space for areas of the sites that are quite difficult to develop because of the topography. and we're hoping, again based on our initial conversations with the planners and the layout that we've proposed, that we're hoping that we'll get a positive response in terms of what we've moved forward. We're hoping for a decision hopefully by September, with the JR period probably running until about November time, which will then allow us to hopefully start on site early in the new year.
Harpreet, we've obviously just passed the planning for the Stokeses to move off the site. When do you think you'll be moving up? When are they actually moving off the site?
I've been liaising with Jane's team within asset management, and what we've requested is that if we could have the vacant site probably between September and October time. So what we want to do is work with the Stokeses and the asset management team to give them sufficient time to move out of the site. Because we've completed all of our survey and the Stokes family has been really helpful in helping us move that forward. There's not much now we need to do on the site, apart from if there's further requests from the planning department as we move the scheme forward.
Excellent. I see Celia would like to ask another question, please.
Thank you. Just quickly, I'm sorry, I don't know this site. Can you just describe to me the topographical problems here?
Okay, if I could start at the south of the site, can you see the green area where the trees are located? That's on quite a substantial slope, which would mean that potentially we would have to bring in a lot of backfill to actually build that part of the site up. And even then it would be quite difficult to potentially develop, because there's a lot of trees and it's quite an I think the best way environmental area of interest there at the moment. So what we wanted to do was, because of those constraints, make that part of the attraction of the site. So we've incorporated what's there and created a kind of eco park where we are going to take some trees out, but hopefully allow for a green area of open space which is of interest. Because of that constraint there, because originally we were looking to see if we could develop that, but we felt it was more important of a feature. We've got a natural break, so the topographical in terms of the gradient of the site isn't too bad in terms of, if you look at plot 42, which is just near the park, up to plot 37. However, there's a further slope then where there is currently a small pond, which again, what we've decided to do is, instead of trying to backfill that pond and build that part of the site back up, we have decided to create a feature of that particular area for the site.
Thank you, Harpreet. And is this going to be open to the public, or is this just going to be discrete for the actual estate?
For us, it's open to the public.
Right, thanks.
So again, what we have done is, through engagement with the parish council, is made sure that there is some natural links. So I don't know if you can see at the front of the site around this, in terms of the road between plot 11 and 12, we've created an area there which will allow people to walk through into the green area there, or also to use the pond area, and we've also put some parking there for visitors as well.
Excellent work. Unfortunately, the chairman of the parish council has passed away, hasn't he, Harpreet? I don't know who's taking over from that now to push anything further forward, but that's another problem. Yes,
he was very supportive of this particular layout. We met with him just before the COVID-19 outbreak.
Good. I think Vince asking a question of Tim rather than you, Harpreet. I don't know. I presume Tim can answer that.
I am. We're referring to. I've got Tim's screen up, but there's nothing on it except the title, item 6. Is there not more information other than just that, or am I missing something?
No, Vince. You should just see the slideshow at item 6. That's just to orientate members of the public to where we are on the agenda. There will be a slideshow for the exempt item, but there's no slides for this one.
Okay.
Chair, it's Mark. Just quickly, Vince, you joined us late. There was a declaration of interest at the beginning of this, so it'd be helpful if you could just confirm you don't have any.
No, I don't. So I was having IT problems there, band had gone down, and I had no internet at all. So I actually managed to get in at the point where Mark was asking for people to propose second and vote on the minutes of the last meeting, but I have no items to declare.
Thank you, Vince. It's a shame when they put the new road in, they didn't put some more technology in there for you, Vince. But that's another story. Harpreet, have you got any more for us, Harpreet? I haven't got your statement in front of me, so I can't.
No, these are the sites that we're currently progressing through the company, which are either in planning or are hoping to get into planning. And there'll be further areas for discussion under the exempt items because some of the pipeline sites are commercially sensitive.
And did you want to introduce your new colleague? Is that obviously?
Sorry, Chair.
Did you want to introduce your new colleague? Is it on my screen? I think he's sitting next to you. Is he Simon Hodgkins? Is it?
Yeah, I've got a couple of new colleagues, so I'll introduce all of them if that's okay.
That'd be good.
Yeah. So first of all, Lucy, who you probably all know, has recently taken a permanent position as a business manager for CORNOVII. So congratulations to Lucy. Simon, who's recently joined us as a development project manager, and Simon will be doing a short presentation under the exempt items. And then finally, Lindsay has joined us in February as a development project manager. In future, they'll probably be presenting details of their particular schemes to the Housing Supervisory Board.
Excellent. I think we don't need, there's no recommendations in your presentation, was there? I don't think we need to, do we need to take a vote on it, Julia?
Really, Chair, it's Mark. I think if the recommendation was just that you note progress and confirm your approval stroke support, really, it's simple as that.
So do we need to do a list of names, or is it, were you just happy that we carry on forward, or?
I think it's probably easier to say if there's any exception, Chair.
Okay, if there's any exceptions.
Sorry, it's Councillor Jones here. Can I just say that I propose we note the report.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, thank you very much. If we're all in favour, then we shall move forward. Item 7 is the exclusion of the press and the public. So I move that in accordance with the provisions of the Schedule 12A Local Government Act 1972 and paragraph 10.4 of the Council's access to information procedure rules, the public and press be excluded for the consideration of the remaining business. Can we take a vote on that, please? I think if you just put your hands up on the screen, I think that would be, I suppose that's not good.
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
Members of the public, you do actually need to take a roll call, and each member needs to confirm.
Okay. So Jamie, can you do that?
Councillor Mark Jones.
I agree. Yes.
Councillor Pauline D.
Yeah.
Councillor Rob Gittins.
Yeah.
Councillor Vince Hunt.
Yes.
Councillor Simon Jones.
Yes.
Councillor Motley.
Yes.
Can I say I am here, actually, and I have been here and listening?
Councillor Kidd.
I have been here, I've heard everything from the beginning. I couldn't communicate. Julie is aware. I have no interests. I have been trying to communicate. I've now got in since IT didn't answer the phone to me.
Councillor Parsons.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, all approved.
Jamie, I think as Mark Barrow said to Vince, can we ask Heather whether she's got any pecuniary interests?
No, I just said I have none. Thank you.
Okay, thank
you. I have emailed those to Julie.
Okay. So item 8 again is Harpreet again.
Yeah,